Shocking secrets, what I discovered at a Pompeii brothel at midnight, you won't believe this. In the hushed darkness of an old Pompeii street, the air was thick with the weight of untold stories. Shadows danced under flickering lanterns as whispers of the past settled onto rocks worn smooth by time. It was here, in the dead of night, that an unspeakable secret lay waiting, hidden beneath layers of ash and history where once, life pulsed, now echoes of desire lingered. The chilling promise of discovery gripped Michael's chest. He had come seeking ancient ruins, but fate led him to something far more scandalous. Worn cobblestones crunched under Michael's sneakers, each step a heartbeat in the stillness. The stunning villa of mysteries loomed ahead, its painted walls narrating tales of ecstasy and myth. But it was the unmarked entrance, obscured by overgrown vines, that called out like a siren's song. Curiosity ignited within him. What lay behind those walls? Secrets of pleasure. Secrets of pain. A drop of sweat trickled down his spine as he pushed the door ajar, creaking like a ghost from another era. Inside, the room was cloaked in shadows, illuminated only by the faint shimmer of moonlight filtering through cracks. Strange frescoes adorned the walls, provocative figures entwined in erotic poses, their gazes following Michael like hungry eyes. The chill of the room sent a shiver through him, and he caught the sharp scent of earlier time smoky incense mixed with something darker, something raw. For a moment, he thought he felt the weight of unseen eyes upon him, or perhaps it was just the echo of long-forgotten whispers. It was as if the spirits of the past were rising again to reveal their fates. Suddenly, a distant thud made his heart race. Who else could be here? The tension thickened like fog. Michael's pulse quickened, the air crackling with unease. Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads-up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The noise grew louder. Was it footsteps? A breath caught in Michael's throat as he turned toward the sound. The air stilled, a pregnant pause that felt like a warning. Sweat clung to his forehead. Then, a figure stepped into view, silhouetted against the moonlight. Whoever it was, they didn't seem to realize they were not alone. Tension froze the moment like stone, and Michael couldn't tell if he was more afraid or intrigued. What had he stumbled into? Hidden desires, vengeful ghosts, and an irresistible mystery awaited. The living past was about to unravel in ways he could never have imagined. The figure slowly stepped forward, revealing a woman clad in a flowing dress that clung to her curves, illuminating her features in a stunning display of contrasts. Her hair cascaded in dark waves, framing a face filled with allure and mystery. But it was her eyes, piercing, almost hypnotic, that drew Michael in. The flicker of recognition hit him, sending a pulse of adrenaline through his veins. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice smooth like velvet yet laced with urgency. A cold chill wrapped around Michael, tightening its grip. I didn't know anyone else was here," he stammered, his mind racing. The room felt alive, charged with something intoxicating: fear, intrigue, and a tug toward the past. As she approached, shadows danced across her skin, highlighting both beauty and danger. "Curiosity has a price," she said cryptically, finger tracing the edge of a nearby fresco as if it held the key to untold secrets. Her eyes remained locked onto his, refusing to let him look away. "You are drawn here for a reason," she continued, voice dropping lower as if sharing intimate secrets with the walls. "Desire lingers in the air, binding the living and the dead." The heavy atmosphere suddenly pressed down on Michael, pulling him deeper into a realm of history that felt almost too close. "What do you mean? What do you know?" His heart raced, every instinct screaming for him to flee, but a strange magnetism held him still. "You see," she said, stepping back into the shadows, "this place was once alive with passion and power. But not all who sought pleasure left satisfied. A sinister smile curled on her lips, and for a fraction of a second, the temperature in the room dropped as her expression changed, revealing something darker lurking beneath her alluring facade. That a sudden crash echoed from a separate hallway, jolting both of them. The woman's gaze flicked toward the sound, her posture tensing. "We must go, now," she urged, her voice urgent and sharp. With that, she turned and darted towards the back of the room, leaving Michael no time to ponder the gravity of her words. He followed instinctively, adrenaline coursing through him. They navigated through a maze of dark corridors, the walls closing in like the folds of time itself, and with every step, the distant sounds of chaos grew louder, a mix of shouting voices and something distinctly more sinister. "Who are you?" he yelled, desperate for answers as they ducked under an archway, his breath coming in short gasps. "Not your enemy," she called back, glancing over her shoulder. "But you're not safe here." Suddenly, the whispered remnants of the past clawed at the edges of his mind, images of lovers entwined, and tragic fates met in the shadows of the brothel. What had he stumbled into? Just as they reached a narrow exit, a figure loomed before them, silhouetted against the dim light, and Michael's heart sank. In an instant, he recognized the threat of something ancient and powerful, staring at him with knowing eyes. The woman gasped beside him, the brief moment causing a rift in their escape. "This way," Michael urged, his pulse racing as they teetered on the precipice of discovery and danger. But as they pushed through the exit, a voice echoed behind them, rich with malice. "You wandered into forbidden history, and now, you belong to us." The weight of the words fell like a stone, and Michael knew their night was far from over. What ancient forces were whispering in the shadows? And why had he been destined to uncover this darkness? The moment they stumbled into the alley, the chill of the night air slammed against Michael's face like a slap, invigorating him with a rush of adrenaline. The ancient stones beneath them were slick with water, glistening under the weak glow of a distant streetlight. He turned to glance back, the dread pooling in his stomach like a stone. What was that? He gasped, grasping the woman's arm. Fear rippled through him, amplifying the tremors in his hands. "I don't know," she breathed, but the determination in her eyes told a different story. "We can't stop." "Not yet." Michael glanced around, desperation gnawing at him. The streets whispered secrets as if the buildings themselves were alive, the echoes of the past heavy in the air. He could almost hear the faint strains of laughter intermingling with cries of despair, as if an invisible audience watched their every move. "Why did you say I belonged to them?" he asked sharply, the question bursting out like a flash of lightning. "What do they want with me?" "I'll explain later. Just trust me." Her voice surged with urgency, but he sensed that something more profound lay beneath. Her secretive nature both intrigued and terrified him. With a quick tug, she led him deeper into the twisting lanes. They passed an archway thick with creeping ivy, shadows crawling along the walls. For a heartbeat, Michael hesitated. A primal instinct urged him to run, to forget this night and all its horrors. But he found himself rooted, pulled by an unseen force that connected him to her, to the very history swirling around them. They dodged around a corner, breathless. Suddenly, they skidded to a halt before a narrow door, worn by time but promising hidden safety. She slammed it shut behind them, collapsing against it, chest heaving. "This may buy us a moment." Michael's heart raced as he surveyed their surroundings. The room was cluttered and dim, its walls lined with remnants of old artifacts, tools of pleasure and pain, remnants of a haunted past. The air thickened with history, but it felt charged with something darker, an undercurrent of deep sorrow and regret. "What happened here?" His voice was barely more than a whisper. "Did people really?" "Not just people," she interrupted, her gaze piercing through him. "Souls. They came here looking for one thing, but they found something else entirely. And now, their anger lingers." Her words hung heavy in the air. The cryptic nature of her warnings clouded his thoughts, twisting fear and curiosity in a tight embrace. "Why did you lead me here then?" "I was just exploring." "You're not just a visitor," she said, stepping closer until their faces almost touched. You are part of this story. Before Michael could respond, a sudden noise vibrated through the door, a thud followed by a low growl, like a beast rummaging outside for prey. His heart raced even faster as dread sank its claws deeper into him. Whoever or whatever they are, they know you're here. She pulled him closer, eyes darting to the door as it rattled. We need to find the exit before it's too late. Panic clawed at Michael's insides. What if we can't escape? The walls seemed to close in, shadows darkening the room, pressing tightly against him. Then we won't be the last two to uncover this darkness, she whispered, the urgency of the moment piquing his fear. And that would be the worst fate of all. Just as they turned to dash toward the back of the room, the door burst open. A face from the shadows, transformed and monstrous, stared fixatedly at Michael. Welcome to your new reality, the figure hissed, a wicked smile spreading, revealing fangs glinting in the dim light. What had he awakened? And would he survive the night to discover the truth buried within this ancient haunt? The figure at the door loomed larger, a grotesque silhouette against the wavering light. Michael's breath hitched, a choking feeling pulling tight in his chest. He felt paralyzed, an observer to a nightmare that had chosen him as a player. Run! The woman yelled, shattering his trance. Without thinking, they sprinted past the figure, its snarl echoing off the walls, a predatory promise that sent misfires of terror coursing through Michael's veins. The darkened room morphed into a labyrinth of fear. He felt the cold sweat on his brow as they navigated around tables laden with sinister relics. Each artifact seemed to jump in the shadows, whispering tales of their own. A handcuff here, a tarnished silver dagger there, each piece an echo of the horrors interred within the walls. Which way? He gasped, panting heavily as he glanced back. The figure had staggered in their wake but was already regaining its composure, its eyes burning like embers in the darkness. Over here! She cried, pushing him toward a doorway barely visible in the gloom. It creaked under the pressure, and as they slipped through, Michael felt a rush of cold air that curled around him like a serpent. They emerged into a narrow corridor with flickering lights that barely illuminated their path. The walls pulsed with shadows, thick with the past. The sounds of their hurried steps were stifled by the oppressive silence that lay thick as fog. What do they want from me? He demanded, skidding to a halt to face her. The urgency in the air felt alive, crackling between them. They want what was taken from them, she said, her face tight with fear. And you are the key. The one they lost. His heart sank, a weight settling heavily in his gut. The key? What does that even mean? Before she could answer, the growl returned, louder and more ferocious. Michael turned back just in time to see the shadow lurch forward, teeth bared in eager anticipation. This way! She shouted, grabbing his arm. They plunged deeper down the hallway, the darkness swallowing them whole. In their frantic flight, Michael caught glimpses of walls adorned with arcane symbols, glowing faintly with a sickly green light. The air thickened, grew heavier with unnameable dread. Each breath felt straitjacket, and the pressure built, suffocating him. Slow down. He pleaded, but she was a whirlwind of urgency. No time. Trust me. She squeezed his hand, guiding him toward a door that seemed impossibly far away. He glanced over his shoulder, terrified he might finally see what hunted them. The growl morphed into guttural snarls, a chorus of snarls that tore through the silence like a ripped page from a book. Finally reaching the door, she yanked it open. A blinding light spilled out, and for an instant, hope surged in his veins. But the doorway also sliced through the shadows that pursued them, revealing a nightmarish scene beyond. Michael hesitated. What's out there? Freedom, she gasped, urgency crashing in her voice. Or the end. He hesitated until the roar erupted behind him. He lunged into the light just as something clawed at his back, the sensation sharp and real. The door slammed shut behind them, sealing their fate. As they landed in a foreign world, they found themselves in a vast chamber lined with mirrors that reflected a myriad of twisted realities. It was a reflection of their fears, their pasts, and their futures. What just happened? He shouted, trembling as he stared at his own frightened visage. The woman turned, her eyes wide, hard with a revelation. It's not just them we need to fear. It's the mirrors and what they show us. They reveal our truth. Suddenly, the reflections began to shift, morphing into shadowy figures, alive with malice, reaching through the glass as if to pull them in. Michael realized with dread that they were not alone, and the true horror of the night was only just beginning. What would these mirrors reveal? Would he even survive to confront the dark truths within? The mirrors shimmered ominously, their surface rippling with hidden menace. Michael's heart raced as he gazed at his reflection, watching it flicker between his own face and grotesque distortions that twisted his features into a mask of terror. The woman next to him, wide-eyed and trembling, seemed equally entranced. "Stay close," she hissed, her voice shaky as the shadows swirled around them, growing bolder. As if their mere presence awakened the dark spirits trapped within the glass, the room thickened with tension. The murmurs of the reflections intensified, whispering secrets he could almost hear. "You don't belong here, face the truth." A sudden jolt of panic surged through Michael. "What truth? What are you talking about?" he shouted, desperation clawing at his throat. He felt his hands trembling as he fought against the cold grip of fear threatening to swallow him whole. "Look deeper," she insisted, thrusting a shaking finger towards the mirror on their left. It darkened, the surface swirling like a stormy sea until shapes emerged, scenes playing out as if alive. He watched, horrified, as a younger version of himself appeared, standing alone in a dimly lit room, face blank, surrounded by a chaotic swirl of shadows. "No. That's not me." Michael gasped, stepping back, but he found himself glued to the spot, caught in a web of fascination and dread. The younger Michael turned, eyes hollow, and suddenly, a flash of painful memories swamped his mind like cold water. A familiar figure stepped into view within the mirror, his mother, frail and sad, clutching an old photograph. "You left, you abandoned us," her voice, soft yet piercing, echoed around the chamber. "No. I was just trying to survive." Michael protested, but his words felt hollow, swallowed by regret. The hurt in her eyes seemed to trap him, holding him captive as the shadows bared their teeth, reaching out as if to seize his heart. The woman's grip on his arm tightened. "Don't let it in. It's manipulation, Michael. These mirrors dig into your soul. They'll twist your reality until you question everything." Before he could respond, another mirror glimmered, showcasing a vision of the woman herself. She appeared in a blaze of flame, surrounded by figures draped in darkness. Their chants echoed sorrowfully. "You are the lost, the forgotten, the one who failed." "No. That can't be true," she screamed, her voice breaking. Tears streamed down her face, and for a brief moment, Michael glimpsed the vulnerability behind her fierce exterior. The chambers warped around them, walls vibrating with energy, memories swirling faster and faster like a cyclone. Michael's head spun with confusion. Was this real? Were these really their truths or cruel illusions crafted to ensnare their minds? In the chaotic sprawl of reflections, another figure emerged. This one was different. Tall, cloaked, its face obscured the embodiment of darkness itself. It emerged from the glass, a long finger pointing straight at Michael. The whispers grew louder, thrumming with intensity. "Join us, face your fate." "No." Michael shouted, jolting upright, the urge to flee surging through him. They were not just reflections, they were living nightmares. He could feel their grasp reaching for him, hungry to drag him into their depths. "Run!" the woman screamed, pulling him back, and together they darted towards the far wall, desperate to escape this malevolence that threatened to devour them. But as they moved, the shadows condensed, turning into something more tangible, more monstrous. Claws and teeth sprang forth from the mirrors, reaching out, ready to claim their prey. "Michael! We can't let them take us!" she yelled, but as they sprinted, he felt something hold him back, an insidious tug at his core, a familiar pain awakening. It was not just this dark chamber, it was him. What darkness lurked within him, poised to drag him under? Would he confront it, or would it consume him whole along with the woman fighting by his side? They reached another mirror, its reflection ominously clear. This time, it wasn't he there. Futures that stared back but their darkest fears, waiting like a predator in the night. Will we survive this? Michael whispered, the question hanging heavy in the air as they braced for the shadowy onslaught. The air pulsated with a primal energy, the shadows looming larger, twisting into monstrous forms that beckoned to their deepest fears. Heart pounding like a war drum, Michael's breath came fast and ragged, filling him with a sense of impending doom. The woman beside him was trembling, her eyes wide with horror, reflecting the chaos emerging from the mirrors. The mirror right in front of them cracked, the sound shattering the silence like thunder. With every fracture, Michael's pulse quickened. This wasn't he just a reflection anymore. This was a doorway. Memories and nightmares spilled forth, a torrent of their pasts vying for attention, each one more grotesque than the last. Fight it! She screamed, her voice cutting through the cacophony. He wanted to. He wanted to scream back, to overpower the whispers clawing at his sanity. But the sights before him were overwhelming. He saw his mother again. The photograph she clutched was now dripping black ichor, her sorrow morphing into a terrifying mockery, a ghostly figure dragging chains of regret behind her. Michael. The woman grabbed his shoulders, shaking him hard. Focus. Look at me. Her desperate call anchored him, and his gaze snapped back to her. He studied her face, the sharp determination that lay beneath her fear. He couldn't let the shadows consume them. Together. Michael shouted, the word igniting a flame of courage. We'll face this, whatever it is. They stood shoulder to shoulder, the shadows breathing down their necks, their breath ice-cold and stinging. The cloaked figure re-emerged in the mirrors, a smirk curling its lip, as if it savored the fear radiating from them. Revel in your regrets, it taunted. You are already lost. No. The woman whispered, her voice gaining strength. We aren't lost. We're here, and we can fight. With a fierce cry, Michael stepped forward, defiantly confronting the figure. You can't control us. You're just a reflection of our worst fears. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if taken aback by the defiance in his words. The moment hung in the air, thick and charged. Michael felt a flicker of hope, a spark pushing back against the encroaching darkness. Let us show them who we really are. He shouted, clenching his fists. The woman nodded vigorously, her spirit igniting beside him. In an act of sheer will, they combined their voices, shouting one unified command. We cast you out. Return to the darkness. The room shuddered violently, mirrors rattling as the shadows screamed in fury. The claws retracted, and the shadows that had been wrapping around them began to fall away like thick fog dissipating under sunlight. The cloaked figure's expression twisted with rage, its form flickering. Foolish children. You cannot escape your past. It hissed, retreating into the mirror, but as it did, the reflections shifted. All around them, mirrors started to crack and splinter, glowing with bright light. Michael felt a strange warmth flooding through the air, like sunlight piercing clouds. But before he could think, the walls around them began to tremble, the glass shattering in bright bursts of energy, spilling light across the chamber. Now, Michael. The woman urged, pulling him further towards the nearest exit. We have to go before they come back. As he stumbled forward, he could feel the tendrils of the dark pulling at him again, desperate to re-establish their grip. Each step was a battle against the weight of his past, an overwhelming urge to collapse under the pressure, and then it happened that a brief glimmer of clarity snapped into focus. A last mirror, untouched by the chaos, reflected a scene he'd never seen before, a future intertwined with her, painted in colors of hope and warmth. But as quickly as the vision came, it faded, blocked by the monstrous shadows surging around them. Michael. No more looking back. She tugged at him, urgency in her voice, breathless. They dove through the fragmented remnants of what once was, slipping past the last grasping shadows. The moment they broke through, they were engulfed by halting silence, but even as they stumbled forward, the looming threat remained a whisper in the back of Michael's mind. The darkness hadn't fully retreated, and there were things left unresolved. What would await them beyond this threshold? The path forward was uncertain, and as they caught their breath in the stillness, a chilling thought struck him: were they truly free, or was this just the beginning of something even darker? As they turned, a flicker at the edge of the room caught their attention, a new figure emerging from the dim light, smiling with a knowing grin, a face he had both feared and yearned to see. "Welcome back," it purred, shadows stretching behind it like smoke. Michael's heart sank, fear rising anew. Who was it, and what did they want now? The room felt like it was closing in on them. Shadows shifted, growing impatient, gathering at the edges of their vision, as the figure stepped forward. Michael's breath hitched, a lump like cold stone lodged in his throat. "Who are you?" he forced out, his voice barely more than a whisper. The woman at his side clutched his arm tightly, fear radiating from her in waves. The figure, the face he both recoiled from and craved, exuded an unnerving calm. It was a person he had lost, someone who should have been a piece of his past, but now twisted his gut like a fist. "It's me, Michael. Your mother," it cooed, the shadows swirling around it like a living veil. "No," his voice cracked. Memories flooded back, echoes of laughter, moments of warmth, but those were quickly outshined by the fiery tears of loss. "You're not her." The smile widened. "But I am. I've been waiting for you, dear." "No." The woman cried, pulling Michael closer as if to shield him from an onslaught of darkness. "It's a trick." Unfazed, the figure continued, "You can't escape me, Michael. Look at all the wonderful things I've brought for you, things you've been missing. The love. The comfort." Instinctively, Michael stepped back, his body rigid with denial. "You lie. You're not real. She's gone forever." "Forever?" it echoed, the shadows dancing in delight. "But I can bring her back. All it takes is letting go of what holds you in shackles. Come, embrace me, and we can rewrite history together." The walls around them pulsed ominously, shadows reaching out like grasping fingers, taunting him with flashes of his life he hadn't wanted to remember, the arguments, the last cruel goodbye. "Don't listen to it," the woman yelled, her voice trembling but fierce. "It wants to pull you down, to consume you." An ice-cold realization crept into Michael's heart. This was a trap, a gnawing hunger masked as compassion. The darkness fed off his grief, twisting it, magnifying the pain until it beckoned him like a siren in the night. "No!" Michael yelled, barely recognizing the raw power of his own voice. "You're not my mother. You can't fool me." A flicker of rage crossed the figure's face, and the serene smile twisted into a snarl. "You think you can defy me? You think you can escape the gravity of your own anguish?" The ground surged beneath them, trembling as if the very fabric of reality threatened to tear apart. The shadows surged forward, clawing at his legs, pulling him back toward the mirrored reflection of loss. The woman tightened her grip on his arm, their worlds clashing in turmoil. "Michael. Remember the light. We can fight this." Heart hammering, rage boiling in his chest, he turned to her, steeling himself as he pushed against the tendrils of despair. "We have to face this together." In that moment, an unlikely alliance forged between them. As if responding to their united resolve, the shadows shrank back, recoiling from their determination. But the figure, now enraged, produced a low growl that shook the very air. "You think your love can shield you? I will make you choose." It hissed, darkness coiling around its form, twisting into the shapes of his greatest fears, moments he had wished never happened. Michael caught glimpses of what could be images of isolation, regret, despair. He could feel them weighing him down, but he looked to the woman beside him, her face a beacon amidst the chaos. "Trust me. He shouted, the words pouring from him like a lifeline, drawing strength from her unwavering gaze. With renewed fury, they both shouted, we will not be defined by our past. As their voices soared, the shadows writhed, and a fierce light erupted from the depths of their combined spirit. The very space around them crackled with energy, the air vibrating with their defiance against the darkness, but the figure screamed, a piercing shriek that echoed through time itself, twisting into something unrecognizable. The shadows dissolved in the brilliance of their resolve, but Michael felt the ground shift beneath him once again, an earthquake of uncertainty rippling through his being, just before the light swallowed everything. The figure lunged, reaching for Michael, teeth bared and eyes wild. And then everything faded, darkness enveloped him, an echo of laughter mingling with the silence. What awaited him beyond this void? Would he emerge unscathed, or face a deeper darkness yet unseen? As he braced himself, a thought flickered in the murkiness. Could love really conquer all? Or was this fight just the beginning of an even greater nightmare? The darkness was thick like mist, pressing in on Michael from all sides. He felt weightless, lost in a vast expanse of shadow where sound and sight blended into an indistinct blur. Panic clawed at his chest, cold fingers tightening around his heart. Suddenly, the laughter echoed again, a high-pitched, mocking sound that sent chills racing down his spine. It felt familiar but twisted, mocking the love he once knew, mocking the warmth that had long since vanished. Michael, a voice called, now tainted with malice, you thought you could escape me? You thought love could bring you light? Images sputtered to life around him, memories locked away, raw and painful. He saw his mother's smile distorted with tears, the way her eyes had shimmered before the darkness took her away. He cringed. No more. He screamed into the void, but the shadows only laughed harder. Then, as if responding to his fury, the darkness twisted and morphed. In an instant, he found himself standing in a stark, brilliant white room. Confusion washed over him as he blinked, adjusting to the brightness. Welcome back, Michael. The figure stood before him, now human-sized but shrouded in the same unsettling glow. You were lost for a moment. This time, it was a woman, familiar yet foreign. The way her eyes glinted sent a shiver up his spine. You need to understand. Understand what? He demanded, fists clenched. What game are you playing? A smirk curled her lips. Not a game, my dear. A lesson. We're here to reveal the truth about your past. Behind her, fragments of scenes flickered like a film reel. There was the argument between his parents, harsh words flung like daggers. Then, the day his mother vanished, merging into the night, forever gone. They were hiding things from you, Michael, she said, her voice silky smooth. Things that will change everything you know. Stop. He shouted, shutting his eyes tight, trying to block the memories that hummed with pain. You're twisting it. Everything was perfect before perfect. She hissed. You've been living inside a lie. All you've known is a shadow of the truth. When he opened his eyes, the room pulsed, becoming more oppressive. He stumbled backward, overwhelmed. Get away from me. Don't you want to know? The lights flickered, and the air thickened. What happened? Why she left? The secrets that bind you. The panic surged anew, mingled with curiosity. He couldn't deny it, he wanted answers. What secrets? Ah, she taunted, a finger tapping her chin, that's the fun part. It begins with you, not just her, but your father too. Are you ready to face what you've buried deep inside? Cold sweat began to bead on his forehead. Was he ready? Did he really want to uncover this shadowy truth? Suddenly, the brightness dimmed, the walls wrapped around him like a cage. Panic flared anew, and just as he opened his mouth to protest, the temperature dropped. Choose, Michael. The woman warned, shadows swirling, face your past or be consumed by it. He braced himself, heart racing, torn between fear and an insatiable thirst for understanding. What would it mean to truly confront the truth of his existence? And as her wicked grin widened, he felt the ground tremble beneath him once more, uncertainty shaking the very core of his being. With his heart thundering, he murmured, "I need." Before he could finish, the darkness surged, and the room shattered like glass, sending him spiraling back into the void. What lay ahead in this treacherous journey? The echo of footsteps surrounded him, leading him deeper into shadows that beckoned with promises of revelation. Would he truly be ready to confront the darkest corners of his own history, or would he succumb to the spiraling chaos? Only time would tell. The darkness pressed in tighter, suffocating. Michael felt weightless, caught in a void swirling with uncertainty, his heart hammering against his ribcage. Then, the world shifted violently. He tumbled into a damp alley, the smell of decay infiltrating his senses. A sliver of moonlight illuminated the cracked pavement, guiding him through the maze of shadows. His breaths were shallow, urgent. Where was he now? A distant murmur drew him closer, hard to make out at first, but it grew louder, peppered with laughter that echoed eerily. It felt out of place here, like colors bleeding into ink. He moved hesitantly, each step stirring a haunting sense of familiarity intertwined with fear. As he rounded a corner, the laughter morphed into a raucous cheer, and the scene unfolded like an unwelcome nightmare. He stood before a wooden door, the numbers engraved in fading gold. 13 glinted under the pale moonlight. Before he could process it, the door swung open, releasing a wave of sound and light that nearly knocked him backward. Figures danced inside, shadows moving in rhythm with the flickering candles. The place was a brothel, a strange underbelly of life that thrived beneath the surface. "Come in, darling." A sultry voice beckoned, weaving through the chaos. The voice dripped with allure and danger, drawing him closer like a moth to a flame. Michael hesitated. Something about this place felt wrong, a veil of darkness cloaked in temptation. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that answers awaited him inside. He stepped through the doorway, the atmosphere swallowing him whole. The air thick with perfume mixed with desperation, laughter danced around him like an intoxicating haze. Faces turned, eyes glimmered, glances held secrets and stories untold. "Looking for something special?" a woman whispered, stopping inches from him. Her face was painted with striking colors, but it was her eyes simmering with mystery that held him captive. "I am lost," Michael stammered, the words slipping out. "Lost or searching?" she challenged, tilting her head with curiosity. "Everyone who comes here seeks something." "What do you want, Michael?" Her words lashed against him, awakening impulses he'd buried deep. The memories flooded back, the tangled threads of his past stealing his breath. He felt the weight of them pressing down, sensations weaving layers of fear and intrigue. "I want to know why she left," he confessed, surprising himself with the admission. As the words hung in the air, the laughter faded, and an unsettling silence fell. The woman studied him, a knowing smile creeping across her lips. "Then you're in the right place. Secrets run deep here, so do the scars." She gestured toward the crowd, and the revelry resumed, but Michael was no longer enthralled. Instead, he felt the pull of truth tightening around him, a noose of destiny. "Stay close," she warned, glancing toward a shadowy figure retreating to the back of the room. "Not everyone wants their history rewritten." With electric tension igniting in his veins, Michael's heart raced. He moved forward, compelled by a force he couldn't describe, following the figure deeper into the brothel. As he slipped into the shadows, he felt the ground shift beneath him. Uncertainty washed over him like a wave, but there was an intoxicating exhilaration to the danger. Suddenly, a piercing scream pierced through the laughter, slicing the air with alarm. He stopped in his tracks, frozen. Instinct screamed at him to run. "What was that?" he whispered, glancing back at the woman, whose face now wore an expression of dread. "We're not alone here, Michael," she warned, urgency bleeding into her tone. Some secrets should remain buried. But curiosity battled with fear. Would he turn back now, or follow the chilling sound that beckoned with the promise of truth? As adrenaline surged, the walls of the brothel seemed to close in on him, shadows swirling dangerously. He gritted his teeth, his resolve hardening. He had to find out. But at what cost? The echo of his choice loomed large. One wrong step could lead him into darkness he couldn't escape. What lay ahead in this labyrinth of secrets? And more importantly, who would he become once the truths were revealed? The air thickened, and he plunged into the unknown, heart pounding like a war drum. Michael's heart thundered in his chest as he hurtled through the shadows, adrenaline propelling him onward. The chilling scream echoed in his mind, a relentless siren demanding he confront the darkness that loomed ahead. The woman, still at his side, seemed less a companion now and more a tether to his own spiraling sanity. "Michael, we need to be careful," she hissed, eyes darting around at the flickering shadows. He grasped her arm tighter, determination surging through him with every panting breath. "I have to know the truth. I can't run anymore." They reached a doorway at the end of the corridor, rough-hewn and half-hidden under cloaks of dust, shadows curling around its edges like hungry vipers. Michael felt an overwhelming pull, the kind that gripped your gut and tightened your chest. "This is it," he said, clenching his jaw. "Whatever's behind this door holds the key." "Are you sure?" she asked, concern laced with trepidation. "We may not like what we find." But the fire inside him raged hotter. "I need to know." He pushed the door open and stepped through. The atmosphere shifted as they entered a room bathed in muted light, the air heavy with an unnatural tension. The space was filled with somber figures, draped in shadows, watching them with hollow eyes. The atmosphere turned electric, whispers rising and falling like a tide. In the center stood an altar or something that resembled one, decorated with trinkets of forgotten lives, pieces of jewelry glinting in the dim light like distant stars. And there, looming behind the altar, was a figure that sent a chill deep into Michael's bones. It was cloaked in shadow, an indistinct form but recognizable, his long-lost father. "Michael," the figure crooned, voice dripping with familiarity, but a twisted edge marred the connection. "You're home." "No," Michael breathed, backing away in disbelief. "You can't be real. This has to be some sick trick." "Welcome to the heart of the past," his father replied, eyes glimmering with unearthly light. "You've always struggled to escape it, but now it's time to embrace your legacy." The woman beside him tightened her grip on his hand, trembling. "It's not him. It's feeding on your pain, playing with your heart. Listen to her." Michael's voice rang out, firm and defiant. "You're not my father. You hurt us. My mother left because of you." "Ah, but she never told you the truth," the figure said, smiling a chilling smile. Shadows fluttered like wings behind him, wrapping around Michael's feet, tugging at his ankles. "She hid it to protect you, or perhaps to isolate you." The woman squeezed Michael's hand, fear and anger surging in her eyes. "Don't let him inside your head. Fight him." Michael felt the shadows creep close, tendrils of past pain curling around his heart. Images bubbled to the surface: his mother's face, the last embrace, her tears mixed with the bitterness of abandonment. "You're nothing but a ghost of my regret." "No. I'm your past, your blood." The voice roared, thunderous and echoing. "Face it." Michael closed his eyes, steadying his breath, pulling on every ounce of inner strength. Voices clamored, truth and lies intertwining like angry serpents. "No. I want to listen. Join me." The figure bellowed, shadows reaching out like cursed arms, beckoning him into darkness. "You'll never escape this." With a firm resolve, Michael shouted, "I want to be consumed by your lies. I choose to be free." The air crackled with unbearable energy as he opened his eyes, his voice piercing through the shadows like sunlight. "Together," he urged the woman beside him. "We've faced monsters, and we've survived." With a shared scream they hurled their words into the ether, a primal declaration. "We're not defined by our past, we're built by our choices." The shadows recoiled, gasping in a rush of air as the cloaked figure began to dissolve into mist. The ground trembled violently, an explosion of light surged, bursting through the suffocating darkness. Michael felt himself lifted, body and spirit unbound, the heaviness of desperation releasing its grasp. Suddenly, they were catapulted back, landing on cool cobblestones under an ethereal glow of the moon, the air thick with the scent of fresh earth and new beginnings. Did we? The woman gasped, eyes wide in astonishment. Breathe. Michael closed his eyes, inhaling deeply with clarity as quiet swirled around them. He opened his eyes to see the ghosts of the past retreating into the silhouettes of the ancient city, the brothel a haunting relic behind them. But right before them stood a familiar figure, skin aglow in the moonlight, frail and sweet, a young girl with laughter dancing in her eyes. You made it. Her soft voice floated like a comforting breeze. Is it really you, my sister? Michael stepped forward, incredulity filling him. Yes. The shackles are gone. She embraced him, warmth radiating through him like life re-emerging where death sought to claim him. Now you can make your own choices. Pulling back, they shared a triumphant smile, joy spilling like sunshine. Let us build our future, he said, his heart hopeful for the first time in years. Together, they stood as the dawn broke, golden light spilling over the ruins, washing away the darkness of the past. Michael knew the fight might not be over, but he felt a spark of hope illuminating the way forward. Are you ready? He asked her. Always, she replied, hand tightly clasping his. And with their hearts united in truth, they stepped forward into the future undaunted, unyielding, alive. Now, hold on. Don't go anywhere. You need to subscribe now to this channel to be the first to uncover more exclusive stories that we have lined up. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to give the algorithm a boost. I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support truly makes all the difference.